My dad was born in 1897, and he was born to parents. It would be Ellen Mahoney and Michael Laffey. He right away, as a normal young man, he's born on the farm, and he's smelling the fresh air from the farm, and he was always fascinated with his dad, the way he knew exactly what parts of the farm was going to be done, what time the cows were going to be milked, 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock at night. So it came time now to go to school. As soon as there was a light in the sky, he'd be out in the back with his Wellingtons on, and he's trying to get out there before the father, because he wants to show the father that, someday he'll be here leading the pack. What his dad was telling them was that it takes a while for them to get acquainted. There'll come a day when you'll be taken over and they'll be loving you. But right now, turn around, young man. Isn't that your mother saying it's time for school? Oh, Dad, I'd rather be with you. Get on with you, he said. Get on with you. The year one would come, you'd be learning the reading and writing and getting a little more education, a little bit about the English language and so on and so forth. But he was looking for one thing. What was that now? The 4th grade. Because he knows, like other lads in Menlough, he would have the opportunity of saying to Dad, I've learned to read and write, I passed the test, and now I'm going to be with you on the farm. He says, now, when I put the Wellingtons on, my mom wakes me up in the morning at 7 o'clock, and I go past her looking for my Wellingtons, and I put my 2 feet on the farm. That's where I'll be for the rest of my life, working beside my dad. He had such great confidence in himself. His goal was broken in the right way. 17 and 18, and he had visions of the legacy and the ownership of this farm would come to me as the oldest son, David, my sister Mary, and my brother John. It's the Irish custom, it's Menlough custom, as the second boy would go, he'd get the opportunities to go abroad, make a life for himself. Now, he moves into the age of 18. John is now 16 and a half. And my mom and dad had been grooming him in the evenings about going, not necessarily to the United States of America, but there might be more opportunities in Liverpool. The lads from Menlough, they did very well over there. Hospitality, there was hospitality jobs, construction sites, laborers. Any one of the 3 you can make application for, because there's opportunities there. He makes his way to Liverpool, and he has a laborer's job for him. He shows him where the boarding house is, and he introduces them to the other boys that's already on the site. They'll show him around a little bit, and off he goes. So in the meanwhile, farming life is going great for David. He's doing all the heavy work, milking the cows, bringing the cattle in. Saturday nights, he'd be down in Harry Melody's bar, pints with the boys, dancing with the maidens. And then Sunday, he'd be playing football in the Menlough Stadium and getting ready for Monday. That's the life of a very contented young man on the farm. Things were happening, though. The contact says, Dave, John is not fit for the opportunity that he got. Take him home. Put him on the farm. Those words proved to be historic. Those words were greeted by Ellen and Michael with tears already in their eyes. Why were the tears brought to their eyes so quickly? Because they foresaw the damage now that this is going to do to this quiet little home on Windfield. They sit down with David, and you couldn't hear a pin drop. And with tears in their eyes, they said to David, "You're going to move off the farm, and you're going to go abroad." David looked at us with disbelief, with a flood of tears coming down his face. And he couldn't believe what he was saying. And he says, "Mom, Daddy, I'm dreaming. Wake me up." "No, David, this is it. It's the only answer in the family that we have." But he says it will be a while. Now, after saying that, Michael hears from Tom Hennessy that his son is going to New York with the Ward boys, Jameson and the other lad. That's 2 Ward boys in Hennessy are going to New York, to Ellis Island. They have passage from Liverpool on the SS Simrak. And it goes, it's a passenger ship directly to Ellis Island, and they come back again. It's leaving Liverpool at June 13th. And he says, "Why are you asking me all this information?" He says, "Well, David will be with you." David? David will be with us. Why would David be with us? John's taken over. And so Hansberry looked at his face, and he knew better to ask any more questions. He says, "Dave," he says, "the boys are being sponsored by Kitty Ward. You know the Ward family. Well, Kitty's there, and she has an apartment in a tenement in Hell's Kitchen over. They call it Hell's Kitchen over 94th Street. And she's sponsoring the boys. So why don't you do this? Why don't you put your letters together with Ellen, write to Kitty. I will also write to Kitty, to tell her what's happening, what's the making. Well, she sponsors another lad, David Laffey. Without a week's time goes by, the letter comes back and says, I'll be delighted. So for the Laffey family, I'll be delighted to sponsor David. He can only stay here, however, for 2 weeks to 4 weeks because it's a small apartment. And what we do in this particular case, there's an Irish Brotherhood boarding house in Philadelphia. Here is the name of the shop steward. Get an okay from him, and then only then can we start this whole package rolling. It comes back immediately that David Laffey, through Kitty Ward's contact, the shop steward's okay, had a place at the Brotherhood boarding house. The next thing would be for them to get him a job, which is no problem because one goes, and the one who goes, he just picks up here. Everything goes along smoothly. We got Kitty Ward, we got the shop steward from the Irish boarding house. They had the processing of the forms. You just can't walk onto the construction sites. You have to bring the forms with you. And he says he'd be getting a job, one boy leaving, one boy coming back. David has put everything together. He's leaving behind mom and dad. He's leaving behind the 70 to 80 acres that he knows every inch of. And so he's going with those memories. June 15th, they arrive at Ellis Island. So it's very important. The first stage, if you get past the first stage, well, then you're pretty much on your way. So the 4 boys, they pass their physical, and second station is they have to show funds of more than $50. David had 80, and you stand in front of an inspector, and the inspector verifies that you are who you say you are, because he had already made an inspection on 94th Street. He interviewed Kitty Ward, and Kitty Ward gave him the names. That has to match what I'm looking at. Kitty Ward's friends ready to pick him up. They do. They pick him up and they go back into the tenement on 94th Street, and the party starts. The very next day, Kitty has them outside seeing. They're bewildered by the tall skyscrapers. New York City, they didn't venture but 2 blocks because they're afraid of getting lost and and they couldn't find their way back to 90th Street. So he starts to work, setting the bricks for the bricklayers, and it's 5 days. But at the end of 5 days, he gets a paycheck. They show him where the bank is, and so he'll open up his bank account with the United States Bank. This is a bank in the United States that's guaranteed. And he's going to get a book, and that book is going to show him every time he makes a deposit. That book is going to be staring him right in the face. He has made many friends. The people at the boarding house, like they make out they're glad to see him go because he ate them out of house and hold. And on the weekends, the lads went to a parish dancing hall, and they had a little bar there, so they had dancing and stout. And Sunday, a lot of the boys went to church, and if not, they just went and watched the what they call football over here. And so, and through networking, right away he got an apartment, as long as he can pay the rent, which of course he came away with. The bank book showed you that he had saved a lot of money. He did very well. In the building was a lot of immigrants, a little diverse, but it was very easy to pick out the Irish immigrants. The lads that put me onto the apartment, they were all same age, and so we started to hang out with them and going to a dance. The nearest parish church was only 3 blocks away, St. Paul the Apostle. So on Saturday nights, it was dancing and meet the young ladies and go out for a couple of stouts. And Sunday, watch again football, and then we roll into another week. One of the early weeks on the Saturday, yes, he had done already to 2 dances. And lo and behold, the 3rd dance, and who comes through the door but Mary Kalani. Oh my God, can you imagine him away from home, coming through with the blonde-headed young lady, sandy-haired young lady. And they had found out through the grapevine that there was a lady from Menlough were among the ladies that have been coming in, the young ladies. So David didn't realize this. I mean, they didn't tip their hand. They didn't tell him that a young lady by the name of Mary Kalani was coming. But at the end of the night, he walked her home to the apartment that she had, was up 3 blocks away from his, and then he went home, happy as a pig in poo, as they say. He couldn't wait to write a letter home to his mother. Dear Mom and Dad, I was at the dance hall of St. Paul the Apostle. At the dance was Mary Kalani. Can you imagine that letter being received by Ellen and Mike? He says, Dear Mom and Dad, I'm a happy young man. I have someone home to talk to, dance to, and go to the same church. I'm a happy man. The boys are telling me where all the opportunities are. I show up and I'm probably missing these jobs. So the network boys, and they say to him, Dave, there's a job opening up in Borden's milk factory, where they have a stable of horses and they have carriages. The one who is successful would take the horse and the carriage and they'd be assigned a geographical area in Hell's Kitchen where they would have the opportunity of daily sales, making daily money, and having a legitimate job with a future. And so, besides conversing with you today about it, you're going to have to fill out a lot of papers which we can have to check upon. You say you came from Menlough, and so we need all the addresses. We need the school that you went to. We need the church that you're going to. So if you make an impression on us, at least maybe we can hold it open for a while, because there's no urgency. It was this man that's retiring. He is not retiring for a couple of months. So you have a couple of months to get this all together. And then when you sit down with us again, you'll get a yes or no, but you have to have those papers. So he says, I am your man. And he says, I'll make this thing work. And so in the meanwhile, next 2 months, he's doing daily jobs, but in the back of his mind, he's saying prayers. And on Saturday nights, he says, Mary, I went for a job, and if I get it, this is going to be the thing of my life. This is an opportunity. They are going what is called steady. Mary Kalani is telling the mother and the father that David Laffey is a wonderful young man. So my dad says, well, Mr. Kalani, he says, as you probably know by now, I've been with Mary for a year. And we're serious enough now to get engaged. And when we say engaged, that means we're planning in sometime in the future to get married. Mary and David were married at St. Paul the Apostle Church on June 17, 1925, with Father Joseph Sullivan officiating, with Mary Donahoe as the maid of honor, and Martin Laffey serving as the best man and witness. So they're now married. They have the time of their life. She has a little administrative job, and he's waiting to hear about his big job. And sure enough, he gets a note. Before we put you out in the street, you're going to be a trained salesman. And we're going to show you how to stack the carriage. It's insulated. You get a 50-pound ice that will do you for the day. We'll teach you how to stack your eggs, your cheese, and so on and so forth. Out he goes, and he has 5 blocks, but each tenement is 5 stories, 5 families on one side, 5 families on the other side. That's 10 clients, 10 possible families that I'm going to sell to. And so all it requires is a knock on the door. I'm David Laffey. I'm your dairy salesman. Oh, of course. What are you selling? Cheese, eggs, baking, bread, butter, and your fresh milk. Come on in there, son. Here's my list for tomorrow. So all I did one day is knock on the doors of the people that I haven't met yet. So now things are going well, and Mary's got a good job. So we're talking about we should start saving for a home. We got to get going for a family. So they said, okay. So then David says, as a matter of fact, I'm going to go to the superintendent, and I'm going to volunteer to be the janitor of the building. I'll keep this building spick and span, and no rent. As long as there's no rent, I can keep it up, and I'll take care of the heat too. So he's got a salary. They pay no rent. Mary Kalani's got a little money coming in. They're ready to save and think seriously of a home. Mary and Dave had brought their friends up to date. They said, listen, there's an opportunity for us to go into the farmlands of Brooklyn, new parish, and we're thinking about it. And so we want to be on the up and up and all of our neighbors. And the neighbors started saying, oh my God, you can't leave us. Don't think of leaving us. But in their hearts, they know they got a lot of guts, because they're trying to do something that's completely foreign to them, doing something that's going to take an awful lot. It's going to take money, all their savings, and so on and so forth. They signed the contract. They're on their way. David had already talked to the manager, and the manager says that they have another plant in Brooklyn that they would love to have him at the Brooklyn plant. The Brooklyn plant is almost within walking distance of the church. Gone are the tenements. Gone are these 5 stories. My neighbors and my new people would be one-family homes. Families, I'm going to have to go 3-4 blocks to get one, a family, maybe 2 families, 3 families, until I get established. So then he starts to work, and he's successful, but not to the tune, but he's getting along. Anything they do together is with confidence. They're looking to be pioneers. They're looking to step out into the future. They have so much confidence in themselves that this is going to work. So within 18 months, Helen, David, John are now aboard. I'm not aboard yet, but the 3 of them are, 3 siblings. It's now the 18th month where we are in our house. We have signed the documents, and we're parishioners of St. Ephraim's. Before you know it, this starts to really grow. And each family that comes in, there's an apple pie waiting for them, for Mary. And so they have a friendly group already. The dream life that they have been living, but well earned, has been endangered by the news that there's a loss of jobs, And they call it the Great Depression has settled in. And not only in the United States, but globally. The headlines in the papers is it's a global depression. And so 6 months have gone by when the manager comes up to David. David, he says, a big layoff coming. You're not part of the layoff. But we want to tip you off that, things might happen. 6 months goes by, and he gets the note of layoff. Big factory jobs down by the local waterfront, they're not there anymore. So now it's time to keep on paying the mortgage. They don't have enough money to pay the mortgage more than 3 months. They've been furnishing the house, trying to save a little bit. So the priest comes knocking on the door. He says, Dave, it's the call of the construction company. They need your mortgage money to pay off their loans. It's like a round robin here. They always borrow money to keep this construction company going, but they need your money to do it. So they're going to have to recall your mortgage. The way this change of events that have gone on is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for everybody. And it's not a joyful thing for the mortgage company to bring back that mortgage because they're stuck with it. Likewise, they're all in trouble. The mortgage bankers are in trouble. So now the priest says to him, Dave, the rents are cheaper in the next parish, the Basilica of Our Lady of Perpetual Hope. There the tenements exist. They're like Hell's Kitchen you've been talking about. There's the apartments, and it's a great church. It's a great, great, great church, Lady of Perpetual Hope. So Mary and David, they gather the 3 children, sell half of the furniture, arrange for a moving truck. The rent is $20. It's a cold water flat. All the heat that you got in the apartment is in the kitchen, cast iron stove. And that's the heat. So the rest of the house, however, was very cold. And so we happened to be there right before the winter time. So off he went, maybe found 1 day or 2 weeks or whatever it was. If there was a boat, if the ship did come in, they tried to spread it out among hundreds of guys that would be working 1 day a week. But money was getting scarcer and scarcer. The bank book that he had waving is down to peanuts. And so then he goes to Mr. Fay. He says, Mr. Fay, he says, I can't pay the next month's rent. So he says, very calmly, Mr. Fay says, David, here's what the story is. I'm going to give you an eviction notice. You'll take that eviction notice and you're going to be attaching it to a form. I'll help you make it the form. It's called the home relief. You'll fill out the form. With 8 kids, no job, you're going to be qualified. You're going to be qualified. So what happens is that the rent will be coming directly to me, the $20 a month. I'll work with you. I'm an usher in the church. I'll be looking out for you. He says, as a matter of fact, when the 30 days are up, I own the other building on 4th Avenue. And that building is all full of your own kind, our kind. They're all Irish immigrants like yourself. And it's on, up here, Dave, is 5718, that's 5720. You'll get acquainted. You can strike that right down the block. He says, we'll get a moving truck and you get to whatever friends you have and we set you up. So we get down to 4th Avenue and lo and behold, we're greeted by happy people. This is a depression, but still no, the happy people in there, they're glad they got a roof over their apartment, roof over their head, and they're going to make it work. So come on aboard, Mr. and Mrs. Laffey. My name is Mary Corley. Remember that name. And my husband, Jack, whenever he can find work, he's a linoleum layer, floor layer. Under the circumstances, we feel we're as good as we could possibly be. So now there's 4 of us hanging out, and there's a little infant that my mother's been carrying around since the mortgage retrieval. So now we're on 4th Avenue, and Mrs. Corley turns out to be Mom's best friend, and likewise, they babysit for each other. And then Sunday is always baking day. Everybody is baking something because that night there's a party in one of the apartments. Another situation develops with the knock on the door on one morning where my dad couldn't find work, so he's back in the kitchen. Mom has the kitchen and biscuits on the table, And it's a knock on the door, and I'm there, and the door opens up. He says, hello. He says, my name is Dr. David Levine. I'm a recent graduate of the New York University Hospital. And I was to sell this plan. What the plan was, it's a health plan. If you get sick, you call us. I would be the one. I'd be the doctor that would show up. So I said, this sounds reasonable. I don't have to give you no money today? No. Dr. Levine says, just sign me up and you'll see me for the rest of your life. Dad introduces him to everybody. He sells everybody. Dr. Levine never forgot that. Dr. Levine took care of my mother until the day she died. The bonding between Dr. Levine and the Laffey family was most professional and everlasting because of the attitude of two people, David Laffey, Mary Kalani. Their positive attitude made that building jump. Everybody said the Laffeys they're all-stars. The way they do things, the way they raise their four families. After what they lost a home in a newish parish, and here they are, happy, trying to make a go of it. That's the spark this house needed, this tenant needed. My dad slowed down a bit. He's been hustling all his life, and he just hasn't got that extra step that he had. But no one gave it a thought. It's raising a family. That's what it takes to raise a family. And all of a sudden, Mom is starting to lose a step or two. And 1937 is a tough winter months, and it's been a tough year all around. The war now in Europe has been buzzing, but my dad, who had been getting 2 days a week, was down to 1 day a week. The depression is still on, while it's been camouflaged in our little section of the world among the Irish immigrants. We made it work because we hung out together. But outside of that little cocoon that we had, it was the Great Depression. My mama had a tough summer, but September rolled around again, and Dr. Levine, in one of his visits to Mom, as a follow-up, he says, I don't like the way your health is going, Mary. And Dr. Levine says, you have gone now into what is called a heavy cold disease. It's not clearing up on the medicine. It's not working. And he says, Dave, we got troubles. If this doesn't clear up in a week, Mary's going into the hospital. This is very upsetting to the family. At this time of our lives, David and Mary have 8 children. The youngest is a year and a half. So Mary goes into the hospital, and she is diagnosed as having pneumonia. Dr. Levine says, Dave, get the family together, and I'll come by right after dinner, and I'll take you down to hospital. We got into the hospital. We got into the elevator area, and the first time ever seeing an elevator. And we stood in bewilderment of what it is, this contraption that's going to bring us upstairs. The doors open up, and the operator says, upper floors, watch your step. And he says, what floor, please? Number 3. And he says, stand back, and closes the outside door. The inside door are iron gates, like an accordion. He snaps them together, and only then can he move the lever to the up position. And it's clinging back and forth. We're all feeling this. We're amazed that it's like a rocket going into the skies. And he says it stops at the 3rd floor, opens up. She's still alive at this point, but as we come into this room by herself, the doctor and 2 nurses are there. And he says, she's going to be within 24 hours. I want the kids hear this. Doctor looks at Dr. Levine. Tears in his eyes. He Tack var vi hade hängelse på sig. And help collapses in my father's arms. Dr. Levine called Dr. Mrs. Laffey passed away. The word went out very quickly. Within one day, the Italians come in with loads of spaghetti, meatballs. Other people be knocking on the door, what can we do? And it was, lo and behold, the friendship that was developed was a great neighborhood. After the funeral mass, the father said to Dave, Father Scheit said to him, Dave, here's what I come up with. A foster home is temporary relief of children. He says, the most important deed, Dave, is taking care of Jimmy and Claire. There are families that specialize in foster care for infants. There's another group that takes care of mid-ages, and there's another kid that takes care of teenagers. But there's somebody that we to take care of these kids. And they're very good. The best of what I can see are the Haleys out in Queens. We get out to see Haley's house, and we're impressed right away because they're not bunched together. They're about a single house, and then a space, and there's another single space. And my father says, well, look, a little room is down here. And then they sit down with the Haleys, and they're very gracious people. So now my father's comfort level is, okay, we can do this because I'm still left with 6 kids, and that's the challenge. That's going to be the challenge. January 1st, 1939 comes. The food is in place. The nicenesses are in place. We're beyond Thanksgiving. We're beyond Christmas. We got a start of a new year. And let's go with the foster program, thinking that we'll get them back. We'll be out to see them every Sunday that we want. So I think we're in a good place. Let's start off the new year with a good way.